Hi everyone, welcome to our very first science department newsletter. I'm Miss Everett and I am a science teacher here at GWUOHS, and I have been given the privilege of doing our very first demo video that goes with this newsletter. So I chose something that is big and messy, but also just uses lots of items you can just find around your house or at a grocery store pretty cheaply. And it's called elephant toothpaste. Side note, do not use this toothpaste on an elephant or yourself or anybody else for that matter. It definitely just looks like elephant toothpaste, but I love this experiment because it is a great hands-on activity that gets super messy. And the best kind of science is the messy science. So let's jump in, let's get started, and let's see what this is all about. Okay, so we have to talk about the science behind this because of course we're science teachers and we don't want you doing something and you have no idea what's going on. So those of you who have had physical science, chemistry, you should kind of be able to recognize this equation. If you haven't just yet, we'll break it down for you. This is the process of decomposing hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is that stuff you'll probably just find in your medicine cabinet that you put on wounds or scrapes if you've had any kind of open cuts. This is its process of decomposing. Hydrogen peroxide naturally decomposes into liquid water and oxygen gas, but it does it very slowly. And we want to make a big mess really fast. So we need a little help speeding up this process. So we're going to use a catalyst. You remember that word? I know, it's been a while. It's the start of the school year. It's painful to hear all these science terms. A catalyst is something you add to a chemical reaction that helps the reaction typically occur faster. So our catalyst is going to be yeast. Yeah, yeast, like the stuff you put in bread. Do you know what yeast is, though? I love asking this question. I'm always surprised by how many people get this wrong. What is yeast? It's not a bacteria, it is a fungus. Yeast is a fungus. And in its little packet state, the little packet you can buy at the grocery store that you put into your bread mixture, it is dormant. So we have to wake it up because it's a living organism. We have to wake it up. And whenever it's activated, it's been woken up. When we add it to hydrogen peroxide, it performs the decomposition reaction faster by producing an enzyme that helps break down hydrogen peroxide. So let's get started. Here's what you are going to need. I'm going to move myself a little bit. All right, here's what you're going to need. First, you do need some 3% hydrogen peroxide solution, which is typically what you find at a CVS or Walgreens or Rite Aid or Walmart or basically anywhere. Now, the stronger that hydrogen peroxide, the bigger that percentage number goes up, the bigger mess that you will have. But 3% is pretty standard. You also need some dish soap, just a little bit. I like Dawn because it creates lots of bubbles. You do need one packet of yeast. The fast-acting rapid rise yeast is best. They typically come in packets of 3. But you can just, again, buy those at the grocery store. Maybe you have them in your cabinets in the kitchen. Now, you do need a container to actually do all of this in. So if you have your science kits, if you have an Erlenmeyer flask in there or graduated cylinder or beaker, those are all perfect. If you don't have your kit or you don't want to have to make your stuff messy just yet, I understand. You can also just use a plastic bottle. So I grabbed one of those 2-liter bottles of soda and just cut the top off. It's easier if you don't have to squeeze it in a little narrow top. So I do recommend doing that. Then you need about 3 tablespoons of warm water, and that will be in order to activate your yeast. So just about 3 tablespoons. You will also need a cup or bowl. I'm just using a kid's cereal bowl to activate my yeast, which you and I will do in a second. And then totally optional is food coloring because we're making toothpaste. I chose glittery blue, but red, orange, purple, all the colors of the rainbow, it doesn't matter. You don't even need it, but it's kind of fun. When you're making a big mess, it may as well be glittery, right? Okay, so one more thing to mention here. Our reaction is exothermic. Do you remember that word? It's been a while, I know. Exo, exit, something is leaving. An exothermic reaction is one that releases energy, in our case, in the form of heat, which I have to tell you because you're going to be touching it and it will get kind of hot. Now, not boiling hot, it won't burn your hands or anything, but it will feel pretty warm to the touch. So make sure after you do your reaction that you feel its heat, because it's pretty cool. An exothermic reaction naturally releases heat. So a reaction using, liquids that are not particularly hot put together will feel really hot. So that's pretty cool. Alrighty. Warning, this will cause a mess. But that's fun, right? That's the whole point. But it will cause a mess. So make sure you're performing this somewhere where you're okay causing a mess. I put towels down. If you have a smaller beaker, then it will likely cause a bigger mess. It just really depends on the size of your cup. But be prepared for a little bit of a mess. Okay, let's do this. Step 1, prepare your bottle. Meaning if you're using a plastic bottle, probably cut the top off. If you're using a graduated cylinder, an Erlenmeyer flask, or just a beaker, you don't need to do anything. Just grab it. Okay, step 2, pour half a cup of hydrogen peroxide into the bottle. Now, I like a big mess, and I've got a pretty big bottle here, so I'm actually going to about triple that and pour a little bit extra. But half a cup, if you're just using a regular size, like 50 milliliter beaker, 100 milliliter beaker, will be fine. Okay, pour in your hydrogen peroxide, just as it is, straight from the bottle. So there's half a cup. I'm going a little bit extra. I'm tripling it, doing 1.5 cups. Remember, the more peroxide you put in there, the more mess it is. So that's up to you. Okay, next, add a generous amount of dish soap. So I didn't put the exact amount. Just have fun with it. The dish soap helps with the bubbles. I'm going to put a generous amount in there. Quite a bit. Right now, I have some soapy hydrogen peroxide. And I do have a hydrogen peroxide joke if you want to hear it. It's pretty terrible, so I better tell you. Okay. A person walks into a restaurant and says, "I would like a glass of H2O, please." The person sitting next to him says, "Oh, I'll take H2O too." And the second person dies. It's kind of morbid. H2O, you can drink. H2O2, not so much. Ha ha ha. Miss Everett's jokes get funnier, I promise. Okay, next step 4, add food coloring. This, again, is optional. Blue sparkles. Okay, so now you have a pretty nasty looking concoction of soap, food coloring, and peroxide. We're going to set that to the side, and we're going to wake up our little yeasties. So next you need to grab your clean cup, bowl, something generic. It's not going to get too dirty or anything, so it can be right out of your kitchen, and fill it with 3 tablespoons of warm water. I'm going to move myself one more time. 3 tablespoons of warm water, not hot water. Our yeast are alive. Don't burn them. If you give them hot boiling water or super cold water, they're not going to activate and they'll likely die. So just some tepid warm water. Add your packet of yeast and stir gently. And you're going to have to let that sit for about 5 minutes because they have to wake up. So this would be a good time to pause the video and allow your yeast to sit and wake up. And whenever you're ready, go ahead and hit play. I'm ready. My yeast have been sitting for a while, so I'm going to go ahead and hit next. Okay, everybody, it's showtime. I'm going to show you what to do on the screen, and then I'm going to go ahead and blow up my image so you can watch the mess in real time. Are you ready? It's this simple, I swear. Step 8, add the warm water and yeast mixture to the bottle with the soap and peroxide, and then watch out. Remember to feel it for that exothermic reaction. Okay. I'm going to make this a little larger, and you and I are going to do this together. Here's my peroxide and soap concoction with my food coloring, and here are my yeast. This is the best part. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Go catalyst. All right, it's going to help that peroxide break down much faster, produce lots of oxygen gas, and make a mess, of course. Look at us making toothpaste. Toothpaste, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And the mess begins. Ah! Okay, now I'm gonna be able to feel that exothermic reaction. It is hot. warm, I should say. Oh, kind of hot. Ooh, and goopy. So goopy. And it's still going. Look at it. It's still going. It doesn't hurt to touch it. It's just soap peroxide and yeast. But it is nice and warm and exothermic. The power of the catalyst. That peroxide would have just sat in there decomposing very slowly. But look what our yeast were capable of doing, and it's still going. We are rapidly producing that oxygen gas thanks to our yeast. All right. Apologize to your parents and guardians for the big mess. I hope you enjoyed this and had fun. We can't wait to do more messy activities with you all as we get started in the school year. But have a great time, and I will see you all soon. Wipe my hands off. Bye, everybody.